What's up guys, welcome back to Franchise Player, and today we're talking about a console that doesn't seem like it wants to die, and that is the PS4. About a week ago I made a video where I was talking about how bad, basically the PS5 and Series X have been, and I want to talk about the PS4 and why the PS4 is still alive and well, and how the PS4 still has a crazy high amount of players considering it's been out for over 10 years. We'll go over why the PS4 is still so active, reasons people might be hopping on PS4 and not upgrading to a PS5, some of the amazing games that you can get on PS4, and why the PS4 might be the most frugal option in gaming, and your dollar goes pretty far with PS4. But yeah, let's get right into it. So the PS4 came out all the way back in 2013. It's hard to believe, but it's well over a decade old at that point. And there's still an insane amount of people playing PS4. There's an article that came out a couple weeks back, and it looks like there's around 50 million people still on PS4. There was around 1 million still on PS3, which I was super stoked about. Shout out to all the people still playing PS3, man. It's my favorite console of all time. But PS4, yeah, 50 million people are still on PS4. And, I thought that was kind of crazy considering PS5 has been out for a while now, right? It's like, when do people want to upgrade to the new system? And kind of similar to my last video, there's not a huge reason for people to upgrade. So the PS4 has an insane library of games. Considering it's been out since 2013, it has a huge library of great games to play. And I think one of the main reasons that PS4 is still so active and has so many players is, one, you're getting a ton of cross-gen releases. You have a ton of releases like God of War Ragnarok, Gran Turismo 7, Horizon Forbidden West was another cross-gen game that was on PS4 and PS5. It probably should have been a PS5 exclusive, but I'm sure PS4 players were stoked that they could still play it on PS4. And then, Resident Evil 4, for example, is a game that was cross-gen as well. But, if we put cross-gen releases aside, the PS4 library is absolutely insane. And a lot of the games, even the heavy hitters, some kind of harder to find PS4 games, you can still pretty much get for, sub 20 bucks. And in today's economy where inflation seems to be just kind of killing everyone, man, if you go out with 50 bucks, you can get a decent stack of PS4 games still. But just to name a handful of games that you might want to look at on PS4 and games that people are still playing on PS4, would be Ratchet & Clank, the 2016 one, which was basically a remake of the first one. You have Horizon, which is a game that I still think looks really good. Uncharted 4, I have that right here in my collection. Uncharted 4, amazing game, looks great. Then you have Killzone Shadowfall. That was a launch title for PS4. I know that didn't get a ton of love, but I think the game still looks great. If you're a fan of first-person shooters, if you're a fan of Killzone, I think it's worth picking up. And it's stupid cheap, dude. You can get it for under 10 bucks all day. You have the first Spider-Man, which still looks great. You have Gravity Rush 1 and 2. So the first Gravity Rush remastered, I think, is kind of slept on. It's originally a PS Vita release, and then Gravity Rush 2. So those are a couple games that you might be looking at on PS4 that might be like, oh wow, those are kind of cool, a little underrated in my opinion. And then of course you have games like, Ghost of Tsushima that I have right here, The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, Yakuza series, Elden Ring, the Uncharted collection, the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, the Resident Evil 4 remake, like I said earlier, which you can still get on PS4. The library on PS4 is insane, and I think that's why a ton of people out there are like, hey man, you know what? I'm cool with PS4. I'm not gonna upgrade to a newer generation of consoles because, I'm still getting, or have gotten at least over the past couple of years, most of the big releases still. And if you have a backlog of games, I mean, you're still set for a while, even if you don't pick up a PS5, in my opinion. Another reason that I think PS4 is still insanely active is you have all of those free-to-play live service games. Like you have Warzone and Fortnite, for example. I'm not a huge player of either of those, dude. I'm not really a big first-person shooter or a big live service game fan. But the PS4 still runs both those, from my understanding, pretty well. Obviously, it's not going to run it as well as like a high-end PC or a PS5, but for like the average Joe, the PS4 is going to be totally fine if you're wanting to jump on and play some Fortnite and Warzone. And I guarantee you, Activision and it's Epic Games for Fortnite, I think, are probably going to want to continue supporting those on PS4 and, even Xbox One for as long as I can, because I guarantee you, dude, that, both those games are still printing a ton of money with all the microtransactions, skins, V-Bucks, all that kind of stuff on PS4. So that's one reason why people are playing PS4. And, if that install base is still there and those companies are still making tons of money off it, then of course they're going to keep supporting it on these older systems for as long as possible. And in my opinion, it's like, hey dude, if those are the only kind of games you play, live service games, then you really don't need a next generation console, and you'd be totally cool with just sticking on PS4. And another reason why I think maybe people are still on PS4 and haven't upgraded is there's not a huge reason to get a PS5 still, in my opinion, in terms of like actual next gen exclusives. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, I have Spider-Man 2, Stellar Blade, the new Ratchet and Clank. I mean, yeah, sure, those are good games, but a lot of people are gonna be totally cool with playing PS4. And if you've been living under a rock, dude, financially, a lot of people aren't doing so hot. Inflation has been killing everyone. Like, food is hella expensive. I know rent and housing prices have gone up a ton, car prices, and car payments are higher than ever. People are in tons of debt, and a ton of people out there don't, have the additional funds to just go out there, drop $500-600 on a new console if they can play most of the same games on their older system. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about is maybe you're someone who hasn't gamed in years, maybe you've taken a break from gaming, maybe you're wanting to, game for the cheap, be a little frugal, or maybe you have someone in your family who's not a huge gamer and would be totally fine with an older system. Like PS4s are selling for super cheap, especially at this point, right? You have the fat model and the slim model PS4 that you can easily get, it looks like, online for like $120 or less. I know locally on like OfferUp and Marketplace, whenever I'm scrolling through OfferUp, I see people that are consistently selling PS4s for like under $120. I've seen some go for like $80-90, and you might be able to score an extra controller or some extra games. And then if you want to have something a little more powerful, you can get a PS4 Pro. And the PS4 Pros are selling for around $150 or less online, and I've seen those locally too go for like $130, sometimes less if people are just trying to get rid of them. So if you're wanting to be frugal, man, you're wanting to kind of have a deal in gaming and run, some pretty solid games, have a huge library of games, the PS4 is not a bad option. $130, drop another $50, maybe $60, and you get a stack of games, and you'll be set for quite a while. So if you're not dying to have the newest games in the world, then in my opinion, you'll be pretty set with a PS4. And, like I've said before, like I love my PS5, right? Like the PS5 is awesome, but it's basically, a glorified PS4 Pro. So yeah, I mean, who is playing PS4 right now? A lot of people, 50 million people roughly are still playing PS4. And those are gonna be people who, in my opinion, have no reason or no want to upgrade yet because they don't really feel like they're missing out. I feel like that'll probably change with like GTA 6 or maybe some other major AAA games in the next couple of years, and that'll kind of, force people to upgrade and get off, the past generation of consoles at this point. Like I said, frugal or patient gamers, there's nothing wrong with being a patient gamer or playing older titles. I all the time, look, I got a PS2 right here, I have a 3DS, I have, Game Boys, PSPs, original Xbox games. Like I go back and play older stuff, retro stuff all the time. I'll emulate SNES, for example, or Genesis games. Like it's fun to go back and play older games. And the older and older I've gotten, man, like I've realized that, you don't always have to have the newest console in the world, and you can go back and really enjoy an older system and the library and kind of appreciate it for what it is. And it's kind of a breath of fresh air to go back to older systems nowadays because you're just not getting ads shoved in your face and constant microtransactions. So it's pretty dope to go back and play some older games here and there. And I think a lot of people are wanting to do that nowadays. Another example of people who might still be on PS4 are people with a huge backlog of games, right? Like I said, the PS4 library is insanely big. With being out for over 10 years, there's pretty much a game out there for everyone. I know if you're a big JRPG fan, you're pretty set with PS4, for example, right? Pretty much any genre you like, you'll be good to go with PS4 games. So if you're a collector or if you buy your games digitally and have a big backlog too, you're pretty set, and you might be, digging through games for years until you even think about wanting to get a new console. Lastly, I wanted to talk about, what do I think the future of PS4 looks like? The PS5 has been out for, about 4 years now, roughly. PS4 has been out for over 10, right? But even the PS3 had a really long run too, right? Came out in 2006, that was out for well over 10 years as well. And with the PS4 at this point in time, with kind of this weird gen we're in right now where there's still cross-gen releases, and I know that'll slow down over time, I think the PS4's got probably a couple of years left of still getting some solid releases. I think the AAA, releases are going to trickle down. I know Sony's probably kind of closing the door on that. I know they've vocalized something like that in the past. They're going to chill out and basically pause on releasing anything from their studios to PS4 and focus solely on PS5. But you'll definitely still get some third-party AAA releases, I think, on the PS4 for quite some time. But as for the future of PS4, dude, I think you're definitely still going to get JRPGs for a while. That's most PlayStation systems, right? PS2, PS3, even the Vita was definitely getting more, Japanese games, JRPGs later into the life cycle. Typically not super intensive in terms of graphics, and they want to touch out to that install base that they already have. I think you'll definitely get indie releases on PS4 for a super long time, like way more than 2 or 3 years in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, I know this sounds crazy, but like 5-6 years from now, if you're still getting indie releases on PS4, someone comes out with a game, small development team, and they're like, hey, you know what? Let's throw it on the PlayStation Store, throw it up for 10 or 15 bucks. I'm sure there'll be some PS4 fans out there who will buy it and want it on PS4. So definitely think you'll get JRPGs for a while. Indie releases definitely for a while. I would say maybe another 2.5 years max of kind of larger, more mainstream releases. And I think what's really going to be an X factor for PS4 maintaining a large player base, and this is just for the general public, right, would be live service games. So how long is Warzone going to get supported? How long is Fortnite? Games like that. Once support ends on those games for the PS4, I think that could definitely force people to upgrade or go the PC route. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the PS4. Like I said, my PS5, I pretty much exclusively play PS4 games on it. So I think it's really cool for people who haven't upgraded. They can still just chill out on their PS4, play a ton of good games. It'll be interesting to see what happens with PS4 over the next couple of years. What do you think of PS4 in 2024, man? I mean, how many more years do you think this thing has to get decent releases? How many years do you think the store will be up on it? Because even the PS3 store is still up right now. The PS3 store has been up for forever, dude. And I'm surprised they haven't threatened to shut that down again. So we'll see. Hopefully the PS3's got a little while longer too. And I know the PS4 has, a ton of life left in the store. My guess is at least probably 5-10 years. I just wanted to talk about the PS4 and its longevity. It's super impressive that Sony always manages to keep their consoles alive for as long as they can. And I know this past 4-ish years, this past generation of gaming, the start of PS5, kind of the end of PS4 have really meshed together. And it's kind of an interesting point, right? Where it's like, hey, what's going on with PS5? When are more releases gonna happen? But like I said, that's great for PS4 owners. If you don't have a PS5, man, shout out to you, man. You saved 500 bucks in my opinion, and you'll be chilling with PS4 titles for a while to come. But yeah, as usual, appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you soon with another video.